start trying to record. I'm trying to debug my recording process. Okay, so if we got the default, we'll just go ahead and run it. Okay, so kind of a reminder here. There's two different things we can use to run this. There's system. It's in OS. There is get output. Okay, here's the difference. If we run system and give it uptime to run, it runs system. And you can see this is what system printed out. And then we have this 0. This is what it returned. And so if we said something like x equals system uptime, and then print x, x is 0. That's the status that came back. Return 0. Everything worked fine. Get output. Okay. So you notice that we got back this this output here, but it's in single quotation marks, as then we got back a string. And since we got back a string, this is kind of a hint what it's for. If we say x equals get output of that, we don't see anything printed out. If we look at what's in x, x is this stuff. So then we could go ahead and use Python things on that if we wanted to, like split it into individual words. Okay, so that's the difference between get output and system. And so for this example, system is going to work good. If you're in a Python class, you might be real tempted to stop typing system and just go ahead and put in star. That's fine. The difference is if you put star up there, it will import everything from the OS library into your program, whether you wanted it or not. So this is kind of like, instead of saying from the grocery store, buy a loaf of bread, and instead of saying from the grocery store, buy everything. But this is a computer, and it's fine. It'll be okay if you buy everything. But anyway, so that's the difference there. I tend to specify what I want unless I want a bunch of things, in which case I don't bother to enumerate them and just put star. Okay, so system uptime, else. So that means that args.s is something other than an empty string, a string of nothing. And so if it's something else, well, we got to take care of that. And we said it's the system they want to run this on, so we're going to have to use SSH, secure shell. And so then we'll have to say a computer, what they wanted. They specified a computer there. And that should be args.s. So we're just going to combine this string together. We're going to put args.s on the end of this SSH string here. So that string, add on that string. And then we want to add on some more string here. And this one, we want a colon there. Or no, we don't want a colon. We just want uptime. Okay. So what we want to ultimately run there, what we're assembling, is this. And so you can see when we run this, it goes and runs this command on this machine. And so that's the behavior of SSH if you give it something else. So here on iSoftware, if I type who, I get everybody who's logged in right now, which is like half the class. If I SSH Nimrod and do who, first of all, it asks me for my password. Secondly, it runs on that computer, and only I am logged into that one. So that's what we're trying to do. Incidentally, one thing you should probably do if you're having any kind of trouble is take your line here, make yourself a copy, replace system with print, and print will run the command you're about to run. If you want to, you can even decorate it here. Running plus whatever your command was, and that way you can see what's actually getting put into the terminal, and then if you want to, you can paste it into the terminal and see if it works and see what the error message is. That can be really helpful. Okay.
So if you wanted, like, in the ones we're going to do, there's going to be different ones, you just make more arguments.
Yeah. You can make as many as you want up there. Yeah, oops, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, so check uptime.py. And so this ran on a local system, so we didn't say what -s was. Instantly, if we say -h, it's going to print out our help stuff here. And if we say -s and give it a machine, it will do it. You can see there's my little print that says what we're running, and you can see that's correct, and off it goes and runs it. So for this homework assignment, the homework 11 everyone was asking about, what's that?
Number 5, do you want us to combine a list of usernames with their web pages?
Yeah, definitely. So well, you see how the arc parse part works. So yeah, you're asking about number 5 there. So if you look at this over here and run last, you got a list of users and web addresses that they've used. This is a little bit different than the IP addresses. And because if you look at verilog apache access log, you're going to see this all with IP addresses over here. And since the IP addresses don't match up with what last showed, this is going to be a hard matching job. But we can make it easy. If you look at last, it's got an option there. Search for IP in here. D. Okay, so this translates the IP number back into a host name. That's not really what we want. This one, -I, displays the IP number and displays it in numbers and dots notation. Well, let's go take a look at that. Okay, so now we have numbers and dots notation out of last, and so that will match up with what we were seeing for the numbers in the file there. So then there's one other trick here. Notice that the usernames are truncated there if they happen to be long. You can fix that. It's like full usernames. Print full login and log. Okay, there, W. Display full user and domain names in the output. Okay, so last IW. There you go. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to take basically users and addresses. And so we need to cut out everything else. So we got all these spaces, which is going to be a problem for using cut. So what we want to do is be able to say something like cut, delimiter, something. A space might be a good one. Fields 1 and 3. But if we do that, we're going to get a mess. And the reason is because there's more than one space. And so we got to potentially get rid of those. Now we could also do that in Python. We could bring this whole thing into Python and use .split in Python, which will work fine. But if we don't feel like doing that, there's definitely a way. Because we can use sed, and we can search for basically a space followed by as many other spaces as we want, replace with one space, and do that everywhere we find it. And it cannot work, so let's see what's coming out. Oh, that's man last. There, that's better. So now you can see all the spaces have been condensed down. So now when we say cut delimiter space field 1-3, we're going to get users and IP addresses, run this into sort and unique, and we're going to get an association between usernames and IP addresses all the way up. So we have every username that was used by every IP address. So then we just kind of got a little lookup table here. And so then on our other side of this whole thing, there www apache log apache access.log. This file has the same kind of problem, really. We've got these IP addresses, and then out here we've got the request where it says get something. And the request is usually like, slash something. There's always good get in it. At least the ones we care about. So let's go ahead and get rid of anything. Well, we can leave everything. That's fine. I don't think there's much in here that doesn't have get. Let's get rid of anything that doesn't, though. Just make sure it doesn't confuse things. Okay, so now we would need to use cut again, probably. I don't see any duplicate spaces, so cut, delimiter, space, field 1, that's the IP address. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is that, 7. Look at that. There it is. Okay, so now we've got this list here. Looks pretty good. And we'll take out duplicates. Okay. Instantly, it's also sorted by IP address. So now we run into this is why the whole thing is going to be handy in Python. So we've got a matching problem here. And so basically, we want to go through and replace this IP address with whatever user happened to use that IP address. And you could potentially use join for this on the command line and get it all together strictly from bash. But part of the point of the question was to show you how wonderful it can be to use Python for certain things. So let's pull this into Python real quick. We'll take that whole thing there, echo. Well, maybe it's going to be easier if we just paste it in. Okay. Cat, then what up, Py. Okay, there's that one. Oh, and we need the other one too. And that should be in our buffer up here. There it was. Okay. We'll go ahead and throw this one in too. Okay, minor cleanup right here. Okay, so these are our lists. And so we need to get rid of that. There's the Python script. And I did those wrong. Okay, so we need to get the output from each of these. So this one over here, let's use single quotation marks. Python doesn't care if you use singles or doubles. Other languages like C do, so don't get too into the mentality that it doesn't matter. But in Python, it doesn't matter. So in this instance, we can just switch to singles. If we were in C, we'd be just putting escape characters, slashes before the quotes. Okay, so this gets the whole list of IPs that users have used. This one gets you the list of stuff that's been downloaded. And we need to split this by line. Okay, and so this one down here. Yes, and we'll again split it by line. Okay, so now what we need to do is go and print all the page requests with their username. So for each request, this is going to have two things here which we can get in split. And when we split this, we're going to get two pieces here, because we're going to get the IP and the page. And I don't know if I mentioned you can do this in Python or not. There's a dozen ways to do this kind of thing. It's called value unpacking. Split here is going to return two things, IP and page. So you just make two places to put them, and it goes right in. And you can do this for as many as you want. So this is like when you're taking your car apart and you decide that you want to categorize all of the pieces that you've taken off so they go back on in the right places. And so you have a row of containers, and you take off the pieces and queue them up in your hands, and then you go and put one in each container all the way down the line. I like how computers, when you try and make an analogy in the real world, it's like ridiculous. You can picture it, but it's ridiculous. Okay, so we got an IP and a page here, and so what we want to do is replace that IP with a username. So we need to look that up in the whole users and IPs. Okay, for so each entry in there, user IP and users and IPs. We need to find a match. So if there's if our IP is in the one that we're looking at, then we want to split it. Is it IP first? I don't remember. No, it's user first. Okay. I don't necessarily need to put this there. They obviously matched. We're setting it to the same thing it was previously. This is the one from the other table. It doesn't even matter. We found our user. So I'm just going to say, we just leave that there. Well, we really just want to print it out right here. Okay, so we got the user and the request, the page. Okay. Break that loop. Continue with the next one. It doesn't matter if we do break or not, probably. Probably. It does change things slightly. Okay, so if we have a break here, we're saying stop this loop right here. So looking at our whole thing in just kind of a general sense, we're saying for each of the pages that were requested, we're going to split this apart into two convenient pieces, and we're going to say for each user and IP address that we have, like each record from last, we want to get the user and the IP, and Well, okay. So if that IP that we're looking for, the one that our request is the one that's in the request that we're in the record that we're looking at from last and where we have the usernames and IP addresses. So if we're on the right record there, we want to split it apart and print out the username that we're on there and the page that we're looking at, and then we want to break out of this loop. There's nothing more in this loop, so we're going to go right back up to the top here and start on the next request. Yeah.
Does it say IP comma page equals? Is that,
Yes, it does.
what does that mean? Is that storing two different variables?
Yeah.
Right, right. Taking that request, and when it splits, it'll make two things. Incidentally, if it doesn't make two things, this is going to crash the program. If it makes like three things or one thing.
It puts the same value in the two things, right?
No, they won't be the same.
At the first part it will, right? Before you go to the for loop. But if you just have IP and page and request not split, that would just make IP and page would be the same thing right there, right?
Well, this has been split out by line up there where we say the split on new lines.
Okay.
And
That's
so,
for UIP. Where'd you get the variable UIP?
That's each. You want to use each.
Okay.
That's just, yeah, he created it right there.
oh yeah, and the for loop is where it comes into existence, where it says for UIP n, whatever. Yeah. So,
So what's the point of storing two variables right there instead of one?
right here.
Yeah.
You could do it with one, because now there's two things that are going to come back from that, and so you can store one variable that has a list in it.
Okay.
Let me show you real quick. Okay. So suppose I have something here. Okay. Giraffe 5, split. Okay, so I'm getting back a list of two things, right?
Okay.
And so one thing I could do is say split line equals that. And then, if I print split line, it's got both things in it. And so if I want to address them, I have to say like split line 1. And that gets me the second thing in it. Okay, that's one way to do it. Here's another way. So now, instead of having a list where I have to index things and remember where everything is, I've got a name for each of them.
So the first one you list will get assigned to index 0, and then
Yeah.
second to index
So
1.
that only works when there's two things though? And
Yes.
split?
See, that's the real catch on this one.
Yeah, because it won't know what to do, right?
Yeah, too many values to unpack. Same thing if we go and take those off. Need more than one value to it. So you have to know how long the thing is that you're unpacking to make that
Right.
construct work.
Okay, that's why you used user and IP.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't that.
Okay, so I think that might actually work. We'll see. Invalid syntax right there. It looks like, well, it wraps over right there. Is it wrapped over correctly? Yeah. Oh, no, that's matched. The single quote there matches. Does that? No, I use backticks. You can't use backticks for a Python string. You can use single quotes, but you can't use backticks. There we go. So now we have all the web pages downloaded by which user has downloaded them. Incidentally, I see the occasional user that's apparently never downloaded a web page. That's not necessarily true because if you download the web page from a gadget that you don't use to log in by Softra, then it'll get missed. It's kind of like if you're busy searching for a present for somebody who sees your computer sometimes, and you want to make sure that none of the marketing picks up off it, picks anything up here. So you use a different computer to go do your shopping. You'll have genuinely tricked all the advertisers into thinking that you haven't done that. So it's not a perfect data mining here, but overall, it's not too bad. Oh, we're looking for this? Let's post it on the internet.
Oh.
Just go to the class webpage, like to the examples, and
Oh, is it auto store?
yeah, there it is, demo.py.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darn it, I've taken it.
Yeah. So you can download it now. You don't even have to like try and transcribe it or anything. Okay, so that's how you solve 4 and 5. This is one way. Like usual in computer science, there's a dozen ways to do this. Like I said, you could have gone and looked through the documentation on join and got everything joined in a relational database sense. And if you had 226 SQL, it might have made a lot of sense to go for that approach. This works fine, but you know, there's other ways we could have done it. For example, we could have made this a function that finds the right user and put it somewhere. Or we could have said, instead of making users on IPs list up there, we're going to write a line here that goes and just finds us the right one. Because we could do that. I mean, we could say over here something like last IW, and suppose we got an address, and our address happens to be 184.97.85.253. We have to put grep before that. We'll find the one we mean here. And so we could have just gone out the particular record we were after. That would have worked fine. It probably would have run slower, but I don't think it matters. So anyway, yeah, there you go. Did that answer your question on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, so today, I'm going to talk about web scripting a little bit. Okay. So I showed you last time I have this SecureCorp web page running. And so this is SecureCorp. And as it happens, I have quite forgotten a password to get into the SecureCorp login page. If we click on login here, it asks me for a username and password. I'm pretty sure we have a username Fred. And for some reason I use that as an example because I haven't had a Fred in any of my classes as far as I remember. It's kind of an older generational name, and it'll probably be back in about 20 years, 10 years. I don't know. Some of you guys will probably name your kids Fred, and I'll have to stop using this name. Anyway, so there we go. We got a name there, and I don't remember the password. So notice when to get here, I think I typed securecorp.py. So it's evidently a Python script, and if we start digging around in my public HTML directory, we'll find it pretty quick. So I think it's in run Python and in SecureCorp. Okay, if we look over here and right click on it and say view page source, we don't get anything useful here. And we get like our web page that's asking for the password. And you can, from this, you can take this HTML and make yourself a password box. I've done that kind of thing plenty of times. For example, here's another web course I run. I have this upload class assignments, and if you look at view page source, it's got this form here with a method post and an action to upload and things. I didn't list these in the tags I know because I actually don't. I just found this as an example somewhere and borrowed it, and it works. But anyway, so you can use post like that. You can tell that from here, but you can't actually see the source code for the Python. So that is right here. I'll go ahead and post it on the website real quick. SecureCorp to CS228 examples. Okay. Okay, so website supports user login and such. So if we start looking at how this thing is made, the debug function is commented out. I might go ahead and let our debug function come back in here just in case we're ever interested. Anyway, so I got these functions here. Stats, login, check login, index. Okay, and so let's take a look at the URL up here. You can see we're at securecorp/login. And login is in fact the same name as this function here. Well, let's scroll up a minute. Here's a function called stats. Let's change login over here to stats. Well, look at that. We went to a different page on here. And in fact, if we look at the source code here, stats ends up printing out some stuff about visitors. And so yeah, this is probably like our visit time that we just made. Okay, so we got different pages here. Index. Remember, index is special. There's some statistics about it. Incidentally, it knows we've been here before. It gives users cookies. So if you have cookies disabled on your browser, this site might not work right. Okay, so I got stats, run query. Let's take a look at that one. That one's hidden. Notice there's no links to it. Like we could get to the statistics page. We don't have any way to get to run query. Okay. Did I botch that somehow? Run query request. I don't know. Whatever. We don't need that one right now, though. So, looking at this, seeing these correspond to stuff that we're looking at, we can tell that we have gone to and run this login function. And look what the login function returns. In Python, a triple quote means a string that continues for multiple lines. And so we got this page, which is this great big string here. And this should look real familiar because I showed it to you just a moment ago. When we're at the login page, we right-clicked and we hit View Page Source. So that string there is the source code for the web page. So that's what so whatever login returns, that's the source code. So if we return, you can't log in right now. Okay, save that. Go over here to this, refresh. It says you can't log in right now. So whatever gets returned from these functions in here is what the web browser sees. And so we have to return something that's valid HTML, and this is at least close. So then the web browser will interpret it for us. Okay, so this is just a bunch of functions in here, a file full of functions that define things that look like web pages. But you notice that we're able to run Python code in here. We're not really taking advantage of it on login. All we're doing is returning something that gets given to the web browser. But you know, we can give it whatever we like using Python. Okay, so take a look at this. Let's refresh here. Oh, did I forget to save it? Okay, secure corp is fixed. When we look at view page source, it's got this action check login. And so that's the form methods. The form methods is get here, action, check, login. And then we got these two boxes here. Input type equals text, input type equals password, and input type equals submit. Well, that submits the values into form. Important distinction here, it does not mean that you yourself submit to the web server to do its bidding for the rest of your life. It merely means that you're submitting your data to it for its examination. Okay. Just in case the term submit, like to the web server, you know, they're like, I do not submit to servers. Anyway. I think my son would say that. He's 6. Anyway, okay, so let's go back to this thing. Okay, so we got this, the check login. Oh, I wanted to go over here and try and log in. Fred, hi. Okay, you don't exist, please go away. So I guess that's what it says when you get your password wrong. Although I thought that meant that we didn't have that user either. Hope my users database is running. Anyway, so down here on check login, up here you can see that we went to check login, and up here the username is Fred and the password is hi, and all that stuff came through on our request. Now our request here though is more than a string. It's a fancy Python object that has ways to get stuff out of it. And so get first here gets the value of the first text box that where the text box has the name username, and there's only one of those. So this gets us what we have out of the username box. So then we can have the username and the password. Okay, so then we got this query. Select everybody from users where username is thing 0 and password is thing 1. And we say .format and we give it thing 0 and thing 1. This is an alternative for putting together Python strings. And so you can say something like, I and then plus 5. And it'll stick them together. You can also say hi thing 0 dot format 5. Okay. I don't tend to use this one quite as much, but in certain situations like this, it kind of clarifies things a little bit. Okay. I'm a little disturbed that it said Fred didn't exist, because I thought it had a password doesn't exist, but actually maybe it doesn't here, because I don't see any message for that. Okay, so reading through this thing. If you had 226, this is real familiar. If not, I'll just kind of read it in natural language for you. So our query here, select everybody from the users table where the username is what the user said and the password is what the user said. So if in this database table we got some user where the name and the password both match, then that's something we're going to select. So we get all of those into this query, And then this msd.connect. So the query here is just a string. MSD, this is a database connector. And we're connecting to a database here on localhost with user Seth and password new alpaca twist freezer. Luckily, there's absolutely nothing interesting in a database. So, well, maybe interesting. There's nothing important in a database. And so then the database is SEC, it's short for security. I made this one for my security class. So once we've connected to that, we have a cursor for the database. In relational database terms, a cursor is an object that lets you run queries. So we can say cursor.execute our query. Instantly, I don't know anything about databases. I just pieced this together from some example online and it worked. And you should do the same if you need to. Feel free to take examples online and make them work for stuff. Okay, so then our page here. We started out with HTML and body. We're not bothering with the head for this. And so cur.fetchAll. Cur is our database cursor. And fetchAll fetches all of the results from it. And so we're saying, okay, we're going to fetch all of those and we're going to call out rows. If the length of rows, now logically this looks funny here because it's like, well, if length of rows what? Like if it's greater than 0? And that is what it means. So 0 is false and everything else is true in an if statement in most languages, including Python. So that means that if the length of rows, like the number of users who have that username and that password is greater than 0, we're going to go and say login accepted and do some other stuff that I'll get into in a minute. If there's no users with that username and password, then we say you don't exist, please go away. Now this whole page thing, we're building this page here. Like the page starts out with HTML and body, and then we add on to it, plus equals, add on to it. You don't exist, please go away. Break. Remember, this is HTML here. We can write HTML in here. And so then we add on to the page regardless. What the query was that was run, just kind of for informational sense. And then we return page to the web browser, which is going to display it. Okay, so there's other stuff in here. We know a lot about you. %s. This is another way to format strings. Real smorgasbord of ways to format strings in Python in this example. This means a string, %s, a string. And this % here means, okay, following this are the things that you need to substitute in here. And so that substitutes that in. Using the plus would have worked fine there too. I think when I wrote this, I was like, for some reason, feeling like I should demonstrate all the ways that you can combine strings together in Python. I don't remember. I think I wrote it like years ago, a couple of years ago. And I think I just learned about a couple new ways that I'd been overlooking for years writing Python. And I was like, okay, public service announcement. Here's a smorgasbord of all the ways you can make a string. Anyway, so we know a lot about you. And then we get details about the user, whatever their details happen to be. And we substitute that in, same % method. And off we go. Okay, so that's the login.
Good.
Yeah.
Does that run without parentheses around username after the %?
Yeah, no, it doesn't need it.
Oh, I thought it did.
So there's our query, what we ran. And so that query is what came up right here, because we just stick the query on the end. Okay, query. Select everything from users we're using. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to make this thing log in, we need to have some rows that match in a table, right? And the way we make that happen, if we're a normal person, is we enter a valid username and a valid password, and so it actually finds a row that matched. And so there's some rows that match, there's at least one, and so we get to log in, right? Straightforward. Okay, now, as it happens, I have quite forgotten Fred's password, like legitimately. And so we're going to have to induce that to happen in some other way. So let's see that password over there at the end. The end there, where it says password equals, and then we have a string there. Let's take a look at where that comes from in the Python, on the Python side of things in a minute. Okay, so here we said password equals something that's going to be between quotes. And so we don't have any ability to influence these quotation marks. I mean, those quotation marks are going to be there regardless. What we do have the ability to do as the user operating this thing, is to put whatever we like between them. So this spot right here, this is our spot. We control the contents of this, because that's where our password goes. Okay, so what we want to do, these quotation marks here, they'll be as far apart as we need. You know, we can have it, there's not really a fixed limit in here. I guess the password box is only so long, right? So eventually we're going to fill up the password box. So that's about how much space we get here. So what we want to do, I mean, we don't know the password. It doesn't really even matter what we put here. But after that, it'd be kind of cool to end the quotation marks and then go ahead and add something. Or, and if we're going to add something that's like or, A equals A. We'll leave off the last quotation mark from our little bit of stuff because it's already there, right? Let's try it. So I think the password box might star things out or something so you can't see it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to type A quotation mark or quotation mark A quotation mark equals. I can't remember the moment if it's a single or double. I guess it's probably a single because it was at the other place. Did I have equals? I think so. Quotation mark P. Apparently got something wrong. Or maybe I needed a space in there. Oh, A equals P? Well, that's not true. Okay. I'm not sure why I typed that. A or A equals A submit. Hey, there we go. We logged in. So when we put this in here, remember that the query, oh, there's the whole query. We selected everything from users where username equals Fred, so we are indeed logged in as Fred. And the password is equal to A in quotation marks or this whole thing here. Now, I don't remember the order of operations off the top of my head for SQL. If it's going to put this one first, like all the ones where the username matches Fred, and then all the ones where this is true, which is going to be all of them. I mean, this is always true because they said or something is always true. If it's always true, it's called a tautology in computer science. Anyway, that would just get the ones that are Fred, or if it groups like it together differently, like this and this or that, if you put parentheses there, then it matches all the records in the table. It doesn't really matter that much, so. Oh, we're Fred. I think I might have another one on here. Okay. A quotation mark or quotation mark A quotation mark equals quotation mark A. Hey, that worked too. Okay, so there is a user, Susan. If we click on this button, yeah. And instantly, I think you can just change this. Okay, maybe you can't change that. Huh, interesting. But when we logged in as Fred, A or A equals A. Okay. Oh, interesting.
So you could just change it,
Yeah, maybe.
because you got the same thing.
Yeah. I wonder if Fred just doesn't have an entry in there. I don't remember who else is in here other than Susan. I think there's like 4 users.
Funny thing is, you can tell what the password is as soon as you log in.
Can you?
Yeah, log in. Now look up at the top bar.
Oh, yeah, well, you can specify, see what I said.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the actual one from the database.
Yeah.
If we go to securecorp/debug, we can probably get the rest of the stuff. So that's like the complete contents of the table. And you can enter an SQL query if you want right here. From users, select everything. Oh, maybe you have to get it right. Select everything from users, isn't it? Maybe you need a semicolon or something? I don't know. Everybody who took the SQL class is probably laughing at me. Okay, so that's how you do that part. Okay, so let's go back over. Well, let me wrap up the whole thing on the login. So when you do this, Okay, works. Hey, that works. So this is what's called an SQL injection attack, because what you've done here is you've injected your extra little bit of SQL into the system such that it lets you in. This is something that database designers worry about. The usual way to worry about it is to make sure that the box doesn't have any quotation marks in it. Because you can do that pretty easily. I mean, in Python, suppose you're trying to solve this. Let's get out of here. Python 3. You can, if you have some sort of password and it equals some sort of SQL injection attack.
Single quotation.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. I did a backtick. There we go. We can say, if a quotation mark is in password, print, go away. So it's not that hard to defend against these things, but you do have to remember to do it. And so it's the kind of thing that can be forgotten quite easily. In fact, this website actually has another vulnerability too, because it does give us a cookie. See this button up here says edit this cookie. You can't see that it says edit this cookie probably, but it does. This is a cookie edit plugin. If you go to Google Chrome edit cookies, you can download edit this cookie if you want to. Anyway, so let's go to edit this cookie. And you can see we've got a number of cookies that we've accumulated, but one of them is from my software.lcsc.edu, and it's got an ID for us here. It has some kind of value, and it has an expiration date. Apparently it actually expires today. It's kind of a short-lived cookie. But this value here, take a look over at the SecureCorp webpage in the statistics section. Where is that? Stats. Okay. If we do some stuff here to get the cookie, I just say all our cookies are get cookies. Okay, that gets our cookies. And then we get the ID field out of the cookie. And once we have that, we select everybody from visitors where the ID is equal to whatever the ID was. And, single quotation marks in here. So we got to be careful about that. And so actually, if you were trying to hack into this web page, you might have to try a couple of times before you got the quotation marks right everywhere, unless it helpfully printed out all the queries for you. Did I lose edit this cookie? No. Okay, so we can change the value here. We can say this and this, or A equals A. Okay, put our little hack in there. And we want to save that. How do we save it? Does that save it? Submit cookie changes. What happened to our cookie? I'm not sure what exactly happened there. We caused some kind of error. Maybe we did it wrong somehow. Because the stats page did work before. And in fact, we seem to be causing errors. Well, thought I saw another error there too. This is another common problem to have. None type has no attribute value. Apparently it didn't read correctly. I don't know what went wrong with editing the cookie. That doesn't look like the value I specified. Okay. A, or, let's try that. That's more straightforward, leaving the value out of it completely. Okay, look, that stayed. No, I still broke it. Okay, well anyway, I'm apparently not getting that right today. The same technique is possible. You just have to keep working at getting the right thing included there. I'm betting half of you on laptops will have hacked into this thing by the end of the lecture. Okay, so that's how you get stuff from cookies, and things can be slipped into the database queries from a lot of sources, and it usually requires a trial and error process. So that means if you're a database administrator, what you should probably do is just read the log of requests to your database as it's generated. So just get an extra monitor and keep it in your office, and like watch it all the time. Nobody does that. And this is part of the thing. Nobody is looking at those kinds of logs. So like this computer keeps a log. Okay, I don't read this log. Like I use it for class demos. That's it. And so if somebody's making some kind of hack attempt, you know, I'm probably not going to notice. It's more likely to show up in an error log, actually. Var log Apache error log. So there's a bunch of stuff. Anyway, errors, Python version mismatch. Oh, funny. Mod Python storing some errors. Didn't know that. Okay. Well, anyway, whatever. Okay. So that's logs, and yes, nobody looks at logs. Okay. So let's go back to this Secure Corp again. Okay. So if you wanted to set this kind of thing up, the walk through it from a security perspective is kind of fun. But if you want to make an actual web page, so there's this MySQL DB. And I'm using MySQL for this. So this is a pretty traditional LAMP stack. I mentioned LAMP stack the other day. I have like Linux and Apache and MySQL, and then you have Python in this case. But you know, you can have Perl, you can have PHP. Doesn't matter. So that gives you a LAMP stack. This is really common server infrastructure. Now, there are alternatives all the way up and down this stack. And so you know, we've specified a few of them here. But yeah, there's others that don't actually have a P, you know, like Ruby or so you get scripting language. You could use Julia if you wanted. Probably not the best choice. MySQL, SQLite. That's probably the best alternative there for that one. It felt like there used to be a little clip somewhere for this thing, but maybe it fell off. Maybe that's not why it's not there. Apache, Nginx. And then finally with the Linux, the usual alternative here is FreeBSD. Okay. So stack can be done in many different ways. Works the same way. So when you're developing for it, you know, you got to make some kind of pick on that. If you're using a software, you know, the Linux and Apache are kind of not that changeable. It does have both SQLite and MySQL installed. It's also got Oracle on there. Probably don't want to use that, but it's got it on there. And then this mod Python thing. So the web server has to run this code for us. And so the username that's being run here is going to be Apache. Let's see if we can make another little page here. Def test page. Okay, and we'll return something. Hi. See if it works. Go over here, securecorp.py. So still login, we want test page. Hey, look at that. It works. Okay, so let's go ahead and get output. We can do that from commands. Reason for commands. It's running in Python 2, not Python 3. In Python 2, that's where get output is. Okay, who am I? Anybody use this command? It's kind of useful sometimes. Oops. It started terminals really slow on this computer. I'm going to check something. Space isn't full. I was curious if it has something to do with my video. Oh, maybe. It's still a burning CPU. Okay, anyway, who am I returns who you are. In case you forgot. Happens. Okay, so right here, we're going to return get output of who am I. And so over here, we are www.data. So www.data can run stuff. So, you know, like last, for example, you know, it runs it, and it gives us back the output. And so actually, if we wanted to, we could write a, you know, like total insecurity page. Let's say take this login. Okay, so login runs like that, and check login runs like this. Let's go ahead and take these things. We'll use them as an example, but we'll introduce the biggest security hole ever. And I'll put these right up here. Oh, I need to get rid of user Fred too. That's another big security hole. Okay, so I'll call this run CMD. And I'll call this one down here. This one actually does it. Actually run CMD. I got the underscores. Okay, so the first one up here. We need an input. We only really need one of them. It's a type text instead of name. I'm going to call it a CMD, and I'm going to put the text here to like enter a command. Okay, input type, submit, all that stuff. Oh, action. Not check login anymore. We want to actually run CMD. And that's the name of this function right down here. So we'll go ahead and run that the command right down there. Okay. So then down here, we don't need like all of this stuff. We probably want this. So we're getting the username. I think it's called CMD now because we changed this one up here. Okay, so we have that. And it's not the username, it's the command to run. And so we'll return get output of command. Did you see if it works? Okay, so let's go to, what do I call it, run CMD. There we go. Oh, it shouldn't say enter your username and password. That's silly. That's right up here. There we go. Enter a command. Who? Submit. Oh, what do we do there? I feel like it should have worked. Get output is not defined. Okay. Yeah, probably defined it inside a function or something, or maybe I get rid of it.
Returned it at the,
Yeah, but I think I might have. Oh no, it's there.
yeah. I don't think you put it anywhere else.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go ahead and include it. Okay. Hey, look at that. It worked when I hit refresh. In fact, you can change the CMD up here. So let's go back to this thing now. Okay, back. Let's try giving something a parameter. Last IW. Hey, it worked. Cool. So you can do that. Can you use a pipe? PSAXU, pipe that into grep Seth. This will show all the commands, the stuff I'm running. Or that has my name in it. Hey, look at that. Okay, so we're www data here. We can probably edit like TMP at least. Echo hi n2 /TMP / placed here. Okay, nothing comes back from it, but look at that. We changed stuff on iSoftRun. Okay. Well, here's another challenge. Can we remove it? We can. So now the reason this is a giant security vulnerability is now anybody, anywhere on the internet, can run commands on iSoftRun, including removing files, as long as www data has permission to do it, because it's being removed as www data. So if I go to my home directory here, there, fib.go. That's a pretty short name. Okay, so go back to this, rm home seth fib.go. It'll probably tell me I cannot remove it, permission denied. Yeah, because www data doesn't have permission to remove that file. So they can't go remove all of our files. Yeah, I can change other things.
That remove did not work? Sorry.
Did not work. Yeah, it gave us permission denied.
Oh, okay.
Because www data doesn't have permission to remove files from user Seth.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So it does mean that people on the internet can't go arbitrarily delete everybody's files. They might be able to see them in some cases, depending on how permissions are set. And of course, you could look at like a /etc password, and you could see who the users are on this system. You can't get the one that actually stores the password hashes shadow, because that one's not allowed. But if you're examining the system for vulnerabilities, a2.conf. You could look at the config file if you get the name right. But you have to get it right. Oh, but you could probably actually use ls. So it must be Apache 2. Yeah, there you go. It's called apache2.conf. There you go. Now we have the configuration for the web server. So, you know, if that reveals any kind of problem, then cool. I know something else about who's on the system. We could ls home of HOME. Hey, there's everybody on here. Okay, whose directory can we look in? ls -l/home. Anybody who's got like a dr that kind of chmod. What do I have? Not that one. Cool. But anyway, so it's possible to see lots of stuff about the system there. Okay. So I should probably fix my security hole. But let's go back to that the web page there. Where was that? CS228 examples. Okay. Oh, it's down. It was in. Okay, so adding this stuff is not that hard, and we didn't really use hardly anything that you don't already know in one way or another putting this together. So you can totally put together a data-driven web page if you feel like it for some purpose. Just don't open up any glaring security holes in Isoptra. That'd be nice. I'll go ahead and comment this one out. There we go. All secure again. Secure Corp is secure, kind of. Secure Corp only leaks the contents of its own database, like that table with all the fake users. It's not really anything else you can do with it. You might be able to drop the data, get rid of the database, maybe. Okay, so this directory here. We got a few other ones in here, PyTest and hello.py. I put these together as just kind of like tests to see if this stuff works. And of course it does. So when you start off, you don't need like the long file there. You just need to put a couple of things in like that, and it'll work. There's might be something special about this file, this directory. It's in this htaccess file. Okay, so that htaccess file here says set handler python-program and python handler mod-python.publisher and python debug on. This tells the web server that files in this directory that are Python programs should be handled by the mod Python extension. And so doing that makes it run the file as opposed to just like giving the user the file. So as I copied it to the class examples directory, and if you click on it there, it doesn't run the program, it just like gives it to you. So that's what makes that directory so special. Anyway, and you can set any directory like that. That's special. I'll go ahead and put this in CS228 examples, and I can't call it .htaccess. Okay, so this needs to be renamed this. There we go. Because if I were to actually name it .htaccess, then you couldn't download any Python programs from the examples anymore. Which might be irritating. Okay, any questions? Comments? Okay. You don't really have to do this for any particular homework assignment. I just thought you might find it interesting to know how a data-driven web page is put together and how easy it is to start making one if you ever wanted to. Okay, I think I'm done. Wonder if my video worked.